Okay, so this is Mr. Eck and
James.
And we just wanted to do a little bit of a pre-episode talk because we had a fantastic trip down to the diocese. Who did we meet?
Bishop Senior.
Yep, Bishop Senior.
And we went down to the archives when we were there at the diocese center. And we met Alberto Rodriguez, the head archivist for the archives.
It was like a bonus thing. We didn't record anything, but we got to see a lot of the cool reliquaries and stuff that was down there.
Really cool stuff.
It's a longer episode, so stay with us, and we'll look at maybe breaking into two halves to make it easier to listen to with elementary school students.
Yep.
And, well, here it is.
Yep. Ding, 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 ding. Fun fact time.
Hey, we're back. This is Mr. Eck, and I'm here with James. And James has a special guest with us today.
We are not in the St. Joseph's attic right now. We have traveled to Harrisburg, and we're in the Diocese Center, and we're with the Bishop Senior here in his office. So,
hello, Bishop.
Hello.
Hello. How you doing, James? It's
Good.
great to be with you, and Mr. Eck. Yeah, thank you so much for coming down here.
Well, and thanks for making the time. I know just trying to figure out when we can get 20 minutes with James to do his podcast is rough. I can imagine being the bishop. It's hard to find times to fit it in, and I really do appreciate it. James, do you want to start us off with?
Yeah, so we always start, well, we've been starting our podcast with Hail Mary.
Oh, wonderful.
So, in the name of the
Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Hail
Hail Mary,
Full of grace, the Lord is with thee.
Blessed
art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
In the
In the name of the
Son.
Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Well, we'll get right at it, James. What
Yeah.
questions do you have for Bishop Senior?
So, Bishop Senior, when did you become our bishop?
I was appointed in April the 25th, 2023.
Ooh,
Appointed by
so-
Pope Francis, and then I was installed in June of that same year. So, a couple months later.
So pretty recently, like only 2 years ago?
Yeah, not quite. Yeah, a little less than 2 years. Yeah.
So, what's the process to become a bishop?
Well, I was already a bishop when I was appointed. I became an auxiliary bishop, which is an assistant bishop in the Archdiocese of Philadelphia, where I grew up and where I became a priest. I was appointed then by Pope Benedict in 2009, one of the auxiliary bishops of the Archdiocese, an assistant bishop, initially to Cardinal Regali, then to Archbishop Chaput, and eventually to Archbishop Nelson Perez. So I was the process for becoming a bishop. It happens without me even knowing about it. My name was proposed at some point, usually among other bishops, particularly in the state of Pennsylvania, the province of Pennsylvania. There's 8 dioceses, Latin Rite dioceses, so somehow my name surfaced at some point without my even knowing it, probably 20 years ago or more, and then eventually they had an opportunity. They wanted to needed another auxiliary bishop in Philadelphia, and after some consultation, they recommended. I got recommended to the Pope, and every bishop is appointed by the Pope at the time, Pope Benedict, and kind of the same way. I'm sure I was appointed the Bishop of Harrisburg again without my knowing it. When it was getting time for Bishop Gaynor, my predecessor, to retire, when he turned 75, there would be a need for a new Bishop of Harrisburg. So my name was surfaced probably, and I eventually, that was recommended to Pope Francis, and he appointed me.
So,
It's not something you apply for
yeah.
or you try to get.
And you're working for the Pope.
Yes.
That's which, I don't know, in my head I thought there was probably like intermediate management, but there's not.
Not really, no. I mean, I have a special relationship with the Archbishop of Philadelphia. He's referred to as the Metropolitan Archbishop. And so Harrisburg is one of the 7 dioceses in Pennsylvania that relate to the archdiocese, but it's not really an accountability type thing.
All right.
But we certainly work very closely together. All the bishops of Pennsylvania work closely together. And then the Holy Father has a representative in the United States, Cardinal Christophe Pierre, who is the Apostolic Nuncio to the United States. So I would certainly have a relationship with him as well. But yeah, we basically all go directly to the Pope.
That's awesome.
On the org chart.
And then there's, we were looking earlier before you got here that you've got the pictures over on your office wall with the Pope.
Yes,
Several
yes,
of
I
them.
have had the great privilege of meeting Pope Francis on several occasions, and Pope Benedict before that, and also Pope St. John Paul II.
That's amazing. All right, James, what do you got next?
So, what churches were you a priest at before you became the bishop?
Well, I became a priest in 1985, so
Wow.
that was, I know, almost 40 years this year. And my first assignment was in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, at a parish called Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary Parish. I was there for 3 very wonderful years. Then I taught high school for a year in one of the high schools in the Archdiocese. I was just for 1 year at Archbishop Kennedy High School in Conshohocken. It's closed right now, or eventually consolidated into a brand new school with several other schools, which is Pope St. John Paul II High School in Royersford. But I was only there a year, and then I was sent to graduate studies. I went to graduate school. I went to Boston College for 3 years to get a master's in business administration and a master's in social work, which is kind of unusual for a priest to get. But I had been asked to do that so that I would be able to work in Catholic Charities in Philadelphia. So I would be in administration, and that kind of set the trajectory of my life. After that, I served in Catholic Charities in Philadelphia for 15 years. Then I became the secretary for clergy. I was in charge of priest personnel for 5 years. And then at the end of that 5 years, I was made an auxiliary bishop. First, I was the vicar general, kind of like the chief operating officer of the archdiocese. And after 3 years in that role, I was appointed by Archbishop Chaput by then to become the rector of St. Charles Borromeo Seminary, where I had been a seminarian myself. So a seminary is the place, the school, or the place where men go to become priests, to be formed as Catholic priests. So I had that I was there with them for 11 years until I was appointed to Harrisburg.
Ding, 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 ding. Fun fact time. So, in the Diocese of Harrisburg, there are 10 seminarians. I keep forgetting the name. But, so, one of them doesn't even want to become a priest. They want to become a hermit. So, with that fun fact time, what is a hermit? Because I don't even
First of
know
all,
what
he
they are.
is a hermit.
Oh.
He wants to become a priest.
Oh, see, we got the information wrong.
Yeah, he is a hermit, and he wants to become a priest for the diocese.
So what?
So a hermit priest. What's a hermit? A hermit, you've probably it's a form of what we call in the church consecrated life, where women and men usually join a religious order, like the Franciscans or the Dominicans or the Jesuits, or the Sisters of up in Danville. You would know the Sisters of Saint Cyril and Methodius, or there are other Sisters of Saint Joseph, the Sisters of Daughters of Mercy in our diocese, Adorers of the Precious Blood. In any case, but there's also another kind of consecrated life where a person lives individually, lives alone and in a religious, specifically a rule of life, kind of like their own religious order, and they live with a good deal of solitude and silence, but they usually have some ministry of service as well. So their life is focused on prayer and study, and a lot of prayer and interceding for the needs of the church. So Brother Joshua Maria was under Bishop Gaynor, became a diocesan hermit. We have quite a number of them actually, several of them in the diocese. But he became a diocesan hermit, and then by the time I became the bishop, he asked to be considered to become a hermit priest, to be ordained. So he's in the seminary at Mount St. Mary's, doing some studies and preparing for that one day. Please God.
That's best kept secret. I heard about the hermit, and that's a thing.
Yeah.
And And
it's ancient in the church. It's older. Hermits, consecrated hermits, are probably have been around longer in Christianity than the religious orders themselves. Yeah.
you spend a lot of time with Catholic Human Services.
Yeah.
How has that shaped how you deal with things as the bishop? I mean, I know Monday you had a program here Monday night about human trafficking.
Yes.
We know there's a lot of aid money that federally is going away right now. How does that affect your job? You see that?
Well, I have. Yeah. Well, that's sort of a complex question. We have in our currently. You mean right now?
Yeah.
Well, we have our own Catholic Charities agency here in the Diocese of Harrisburg, and we have a number of different ministries that are involved with that. Currently, our Catholic Charities agency is not affected. We're not receiving any federal funding that has been cut. Other dioceses are, particularly with regard to funding to assist refugees for resettlement. As it goes back for many years that the Catholic Church in the United States has partnered with the federal government to resettle legal immigrants and refugees in the United States. So that's apparently being reviewed at this particular time, and so that's been cut. Yeah. So that's how that right now we're stable in Harrisburg with the services that we provide, both privately funded and those that we are carrying on in partnership. Mostly our mental health counseling would be carried on in partnership with state funding in Pennsylvania, Medicaid funding.
You want to move on to sports?
Oh, yeah, sure. So where did you grow up? Did you?
I grew up in a little town called North Wales, Pennsylvania, in Montgomery County. It's about midway between Philadelphia and Allentown.
Okay.
If you go up the northeast extension of the Pennsylvania Turnpike, the first exit off the east-west Turnpike is Lansdale. So that would be my exit. And I lived about 5 miles from that in the town of North Wales.
So did you play any sports growing up?
I did. I love baseball, and I still do today. I played in Little League which I believe is still called the Norgwyn Little League. It's for North Wales and Gwynedd. There's a lot of that. Nearby there was a Gwynnor Elementary School too. Gwynedd is Upper Gwynedd Township, and there's Upper and Lower Gwynedd and the Gwynedd area, Gwynedd Valley. So yeah, Norgwyn Little League. I also played CYO baseball at my parish elementary school, just like St. Joseph, St. Rose of Lima grade school in Philadelphia. I didn't play in high school. I didn't play any sports in high school. I played CYO basketball. I wasn't very good, but I played. I was out there.
You were a big runner as well, right?
I got into running after once I got into the seminary, and after I was ordained to the priesthood. I ran very regularly for probably like 35 years. When I was rector of the seminary, we became. It was a couple of annual events. I did 6 Philly half marathons, and also the great 10-miler that's in May, the Broad Street Run. And I would get groups of seminarians to do that with me. We would all do the training together, and we had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, a few years ago, I started having back problems that were being exacerbated by the running. So I had to take a step back from the running and do walking. Today I have an elliptical machine and a recumbent stationary bike, and I alternate between those two, and I also walk.
So you're like
a lot of back exercises that I learned in physical therapy.
Well, back pain can be gnarly. But you're a homegrown.
I miss running though. I
imagine.
Yeah,
you're a homegrown Pennsylvania person.
Yes, I was born in a
Philly.
hospital in Philadelphia, and I grew up in North Wales.
How about those Philadelphia Eagles?
Oh, it was a great day. Yeah, we as Phillies, Philadelphia sports fans, we always have I am very, very cautiously optimistic when they get to those points.
Yeah, James, I'd say
tend to be always, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So we prepare to be disappointed. We were certainly not disappointed in the Super Bowl this year.
No, not this year.
And as a matter of fact, it was a lot less stressful than I thought it was going to be.
You can't see it because you're listening to us, but James is putting a hole through his lower lip. He's trying not to make a comment. James, what are you thinking?
I'm a Giants fan.
A Giants fan.
That's all I'm saying.
Please understand that that doesn't change. You still seem like a very nice person.
Yeah.
You know,
I just like.
well, you had a rough year if you're a Giants
Yeah,
fan. Rough couple of years.
I was very disappointed in the Super Bowl. I really wanted the Chiefs to win. Like, the Chiefs, like, they had Patrick Mahomes. I thought they were going to win for sure because, like, they were, like, the best team in the NFL that year.
Well, this year it was
definitely the Eagles' year.
Yeah. I thought the Bills were going to beat them in the AFC Championship, but, like,
All that
Chiefs
snow.
beat them by, like, a couple of points at the end. In the end,
It's not been a good year for James, nor my Steelers. Should we move on to Catholic schools, James?
yeah. So, Bishop Senior, why would you recommend Catholic schools to a student?
Oh, wow. Well, wonderful. There's so many wonderful things about Catholic schools. You know, in a Catholic school, I like to say, you know, we really educate the whole person. And, you know, the key aspect of that's present in a Catholic school is the whole question of a relationship with God, our learning about our faith, learning about God's plan for our life, and our relationship with God that we have through Jesus Christ. So really, Catholic schools exist primarily to teach the faith, to teach the Catholic faith. And so formation in the faith certainly is the main deciding factor. And with that comes, I believe, you know, a very clear emphasis on values and the kind of values that really are not just important in education when you're in the third grade or above, but values that you learn for life. And I know that there's wonderful public schools that do that as well. I'm not suggesting that doesn't happen. But here, it's very explicit in a Catholic school. And that it's also a true community of faith if it's in that context. So, educating the whole person in a values-based environment, I think it's more important than ever right now in our world. And I went to Catholic school myself, St. Rose of Lima Elementary School in North Wales, and I'm a proud graduate of Lansdale Catholic High School, where I was a crusader.
And then you went to seminary, not at St. Mary's, but
I went to St. Charles Borromeo Seminary, where I later was the rector.
And that's in Philly.
Right now it's actually in Gwynedd. It's right near where I grew up. It's moved. We just moved. This is the first year at the new campus. It was just outside Philadelphia in Wynwood, Pennsylvania, in Montgomery County.
All right.
For 150 years.
Just
more.
Moved more space. Old building was too
the
hard
old
to-
buildings, yeah, had gotten beyond us in terms of maintenance. It was built for another age. We acquired property and an existing dormitory from Gwynedd Mercy University several years ago and built an entirely new campus on the campus of Gwynedd Mercy.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, in Lower Gwynedd Township.
Not from St. Joe's, but Reese Currian is from
Yes.
St. Columba.
Right,
I think
yes.
that's where he's at.
That's where Reese is, yes.
Yeah.
We have 7 seminarians for the Diocese of Harrisburg are at St. Charles, and there are 3 currently at Mount St. Mary's Seminary in Emmitsburg.
I think the other one kind of local to us is from Benton. Eric?
Yes,
Weeble?
Eric Weeble, yes. He's also at St. Charles.
All right, very cool.
Yeah, both from up in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, Reese was one of my lifeguards years and years ago
Yeah.
at the Boy Scout camp in Benton. So it's interesting
And
how
then,
things are so small.
Lucas Bastian is from Lewistown, so that's kind of on the way up.
That's that's close. Reading's important with academics. James loves to read. In fact, he was reading Harry Potter the whole way down. I thought he'd be like, "Let's go over
You
the
can
questions."
read in a car, James?
Yeah, I can
I
read
get a
in
little
car.
sick.
I
I
can't
get a
do
little
that
car
anymore
sick if
either.
I read in a car.
I can read anywhere.
So
That's fantastic.
Well, not in the pool. Not in water.
Multi-talented.
Yeah, not in water. I can read anywhere that a book won't get ruined.
So James has some questions he's asked everybody that we've interviewed. So go ahead, James.
So, what are you reading?
I'm reading the recently published autobiography of Pope Francis. It's called Hope. Hope. The Holy Father, whom we're praying for very much because he's been critically ill for the last several weeks. So we really want to please continue to pray for him, for his recovery, and for the church and his leadership. But I'm reading his autobiography that he just published. I'm not aware of any other pope in history that ever wrote an autobiography. So it's called Hope, and it's really, really good. He's talking. I've just started on just like 50 pages into it. Yeah.
What was your favorite book growing up?
Oh, there's a lot there I'd have to think about. I've always loved, when I was growing up, there was a whole series of books that you got. There was a collection called the Hardy Boys. Now, I don't know if Mr. Eck would remember that.
Yes, especially the ones where you had to solve the mystery yourself.
Yeah, there were mystery stories, and they were two brothers, and my dad was a voracious reader. And so our family, we were encouraged to read a lot. So I no sooner finished one Hardy Boys book than I had another one in my hand. So I would say the Hardy Boys really got me into reading at a young age, like reading regularly. But what other books? Gosh, I loved English class when I was, particularly in high school. I look back on that. But I remember even in elementary school, middle school, getting into some of the things we read together. But books that really made a great impression on me and helped me. I think we were really part of our study program in school. So I could think of, we read a lot of classics in a humanities program that I had in honors English in my in 11th and 12th grade, my junior and senior year.
Yeah, that's
we would
seems to be a little bit
Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness, Don Quixote, Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. We read The Great Gatsby. F. Scott Fitzgerald.
There was an article recently about how maybe we need to look at getting back to more of the classic literature.
Yes.
I'm kind of new to Catholic school. I'm on my third year there, but I kind of see the sense in that. I know some of our homeschool parents actually have their high school age kids reading encyclicals.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's something maybe we should think about even in middle school.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting idea. Yeah, no, absolutely. I grew up with that and reading You know what I do? I love reading poetry. And I started many years ago, just a little discipline. I read a poem a day, and I go through different collections and different times. But some people do a crossword puzzle in the morning. Some people do other kinds of word games. But I love reading poetry. So right now I'm going through a collection of Robert Frost, who I really enjoy.
That you may make me give up my daily crossword puzzle now.
Well, friends of mine do Wordle, and they're telling me I should be doing Wordle every day. The New York Times.
It doesn't take a long time.
It doesn't take a long time.
No, that's not a big time commitment.
I used to ask people that were on the podcast what they want for Christmas, but now that we're heading into Lent, what are you giving up for Lent, and what's your favorite holiday also?
Oh, I'd have to say, as a Christian, I would have to say Easter. It has the most meaning for me.
Mm-hmm.
We're baptized into the death and resurrection of Christ. So
everything
that's associated, that's the culmination of Lent. And what we do, it's giving up things for Lent. You know what it's really all about? It's about setting aside something that we ordinarily do to create more space for God. It's really about setting aside something so that I can turn toward God more readily, more frequently, or with a renewed attentiveness. So part of that is, I think, for all of us, is to do what we ideally are doing all the time, but we do it with a new intentionality. I think when we talk about fasting from things, there's things that are maybe very good. One of the I'm looking at a cell phone there. One of the things that I think can kind of distract us constantly is our use of social media and how much time we spend on our cell phones. Even if we just say, I'm gonna take an hour a day where I'm not gonna have it on my person. I'm just gonna take a break from it, or a couple of hours. Or I'm not gonna look at it until 9 o'clock in the morning, just so that I can have some quiet time. They're good disciplines that I think really open us up to that, and also really try to fast from things that perhaps lead us away from God. Fast from I don't know. One thing that's really good, that I find is very good. I love to listen to music. I mean, I'm a musician, and that I always listen to music in the car. I always have music on. But I've discovered more recently, sometimes it's just good to turn off the music and just be in silence, and use it as an opportunity to talk to God. helps you pay more attention to the road and your driving and other drivers. And it's a good time for intercessory prayer when you think of the things that you're praying for, or people. As a bishop, I get asked all the time, would you say a prayer for my mother, for my brother who's got cancer, someone who just lost their spouse, and I bring all that to mind. Sometimes silence in the car when I'm driving. So it doesn't have to be anything super complicated, but are there ways in our lives where we can create more space for God? And that's what I think that's what Lent's all about, because during that time, in that space, we can really grow closer to Him, because we focus on the fact that ultimately God is our best friend, and He's the our Lord Jesus is to be the center of our lives. And so we're just creating more space to remember that.
What are your thoughts there, James?
Well, I'm probably going to give up snacking after school.
It's interesting to see what third graders are thinking about for Lent.
Well, that's good. Remember, when you do that, you're going to think about that. And you're going to come home and you normally have a snack, and you're going to think, I normally have a snack. But you know what? At that moment, when you don't, just say, Jesus, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this because I love you. And it's also good to say, and Jesus, I'm doing it for the intention of ending the war in Ukraine, or bringing peace to Gaza, or to help the church get more priests and have more seminarians, or for victims and survivors of human trafficking, which is something I've been trying to focus on. And I'm encouraging people actually in my Lenten letter to do that. If you're going to fast, you're going to give up something during Lent, do it with the intentionality of loving Jesus. I'm going to do this for love of you, to show that I love you, and also to do it for others that need my prayer. It's good to have that extra
part.
Motivation,
It's like putting an intention with a rosary.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I like the thought that it'll tie in with the phone, right? Like, I'm going to give up my cell phone for Lent, but if I just plop down in front of my computer, that I'm going to put that time aside and reflect on why I'm doing it as well. I like that
Right.
thought.
So, I have to ask you something. This is probably the best question I have. What's your favorite Bible story?
I love the Easter narratives, the story of Jesus after He rose from the dead. All of them, in one way or another. Each has just such hope and such transformation, death that leads to life. One gospel situation, I guess I would have to say, after Jesus rose from the dead, as it's described in the Gospel of John, where Jesus has that encounter with the apostles. They bring the fish from the catch, and Jesus has that dialogue with Peter, where He says, "Peter, do you love me?" And he says yes. He asks him 3 times. And sometimes they think that He was asking him to undo the 3 times that he had denied Jesus, knowing Jesus. But that scene, and then really where each time Jesus says, "Feed my lambs, feed my sheep, tend my sheep," in response to Peter insisting that he loves him, He gives him a mission. And I love that image of the paradigm that our love for Jesus really turns us outward to mission, which is what He gives to Peter. And so I find that I've experienced that deeply, in a deeply personal way, having walked through that dialogue myself in prayer with the Lord, feeling that's what a bishop's supposed to do. Feed the sheep, tend the sheep. That's what I seek to try to do. So I love that story. It also ends with Jesus saying to Peter, "When you were young, you went about as you will, but when you were old, someone else will dress you and take you where you do not want to go."
I was not thinking about that too much.
It's a surrender of will, which is also a good part.
Which is a good thing.
So, I have this Bible, but it's actually like in comic book style. Like, it's the whole Bible, but it's in comic book style.
My goodness.
So it's like much easier to read than like the actual Bible.
Yeah.
And Mr. Eck here actually gave it to me for my first communion.
Oh, wonderful. When did you make your first communion?
In second grade,
It's about a year ago.
So last year.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Do you have any questions for James?
What are you reading right now, James?
Harry Potter.
Oh, Harry Potter. It's right. Yeah, Mr. X said that in the car on the way.
And I'm
Now, which one? I mean, there's a lot of Harry Potters.
So I've been reading the series in order, and I'm on the last book.
Wow. That's a
And
lot
so-
of books.
I'm trying to finish it before my birthday on March 24th, because I want to do a Harry Potter movie marathon, but I can't, but I don't want to spoil the movies before I finish the books. So I'm trying to finish the 7th book before my birthday.
Wow, that's really good.
And my birthday is on March 24th.
Well, you're right after me. My birthday's on March 22nd.
Oh, wow.
We brought the spring.
You've done podcasts before,
Yes.
and I wanted to kind of mention that we do have a diocese
Yes.
podcast, Candid Catholic Convos.
Yes.
And that's with Rachel.
Yes.
So if any listeners are out there, we'll put that in the notes so you can listen to that
You
podcast.
can access off the diocesan website.
Website. And another podcast that I've enjoyed listening to recently is Nets in the Water, a Catholic education podcast by John Barreto. He's down in Florida. 7th grade students in religion at St. Joe's will know him as DJ Richter from Showtime with Chevin. But I've really enjoyed his podcast. He's bringing in big power players in Catholic education in Florida. Really good podcast. I'll put a link for that in the show notes as well. Anything else you wanted to go back and hit on, James, before we wrap this up?
No.
Or Bishop?
Not really.
Anything?
Oh, I have to ask you something. Have you ever been to our school, St. Joseph's?
I've been to your parish several times. I don't think I've actually been in the school.
You should come.
I have to come sometime.
Yeah, you should come.
Yes.
I think the 3rd graders would love it if you stopped in.
Yeah. Well, we'll look for an opportunity. I'm surprised you didn't ask me about music.
Okay, what's your favorite music band?
Well, I
Or
don't
like
really have a
any-
band.
He's a-
I play the piano.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I started when I was. You were asking me about what sports I played. Part of the reason I didn't play too many sports was I was practicing the piano. I started when I was 7.
I actually do piano too.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's great.
And I'm pretty sure I actually started when I was like 6. I
Oh,
am
so you got me. You got another year on me. That's really good. But I try to play the piano every day, and I mostly play classical music.
So, I think that wraps stuff up. Thank you, Bishop Senior, for being on here.
Well, thank you, James. I'm very grateful to you and to Mr. Eck for your visit and for the opportunity.
And thank you, Mrs. Winters, for getting us here, and for giving us this opportunity. And thank you, listeners, again for listening to today's episode. And we will have more episodes in the future. And goodbye.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
So
See you
long.
later.
Thanks,
God bless you.
Bishop.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Attic Antics, a Tiger TV production. To find the latest episodes of all Tiger TV productions, go to stjosephdanville.com. stjosephdanville.com. And scroll down to Tiger TV Productions.
St. Joseph,
Pray for us!